What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Pour. I'm Jordan.
I'm Brian.
And we have a pretty cool episode today, so we're going to do things a little bit differently. We decided that maybe we should start doing some bourbon news videos, so this is our first one. And today we got an email from a pretty big distillery, Brian, with some pretty big news.
Yeah. I think we both saw it about the same time. It came about 8 o'clock this morning. It was an email from Sazerac, which is pretty well known. It's allocation season, so they got some pretty good stuff dropping. So they announced that their BTAC line is getting ready to drop, and they gave some of the credentials for each bottle. We thought that would be cool information to share with everybody.
And a great way to kick off kind of our bourbon news videos. So this is obviously BTAC is the most anticipated, I would say, of all allocated items of the year, kind of the holy grail. But let's get to it. On the bar top today, we've got the 2023 version of Thomas H. Handy. So that's pretty cool. We're going to have that just to sip on. But first, about the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. It was released more than 2 decades ago by Buffalo Trace, and it includes William Larue Weller, George T. Stagg, Sazerac 18, Eagle Rare 17, and Thomas H. Handy. The standout this year, I guess, is William Larue Weller, because this year signifies the 25th year that that Sazerac has owned that brand. Right. So let's get right into it, Brian. Let's kick it off with, I think, the most famous of the BTAC, George T. Stagg.
Okay. Well, last year, the George T. Stagg, we were able to get our hands on that, and it was a phenomenal bottle. This year's offering comes in, it's 15 years and 2 months. It's 136.1 proof. So I'm going to guess that thing packs a punch. I think last year's was around 132, 133. Yeah. So if we were able to get our hands on it, then I really want to taste that one. But it's basically on the nose. It's got an aged wood, kind of a rich oak, and a dark cherry. And then the palate, it says it's got a spice, oak, caramel, and cinnamon, which I'm sure with that proof point, I bet you that spice has got a nice little kick to it. This is always one of the most sought after bottles, and the one that every year I want. Most years I don't get it. That's usually the one I'm always going after. So.
For sure. All right, that brings us to William Larue Weller, which would be the one that I would want most out of the whole collection. So this year's William Larue Weller kind of, according to Sazerac, it kind of felt like they were playing that up as kind of the star of the show. This one comes in at 125.8 proof. It does go into the barrel at 114 proof. And then this has been aged for 12 years in a lower place in the rick house, lower floor of the rick house. So Brian and I were talking before we started filming. This is basically what Weller 12 would be like at cask strength. So we felt like that was pretty cool. On the notes, the nose, they said that it was new leather, light pipe tobacco, caramel, marshmallow, and a little bit of ripe fruit. Palate, they just listed caramel and toffee, which I'm surprised there wasn't a little bit more there.
Too,
But that's what they had for the palate, and it finishes with oak and fruit. So kind of cool. I would really love to get my hands on William Larue Weller.
Right, that'd be awesome. So the next one up for me would be the Eagle Rare 17. This one, I don't know if I've ever seen this bottle, but it sounds delightful. Last year's offering, I think, was a little bit older, but this one it's 17 years, 4 months. It's bottled at 101 proof, and that goes back to when they originally released Eagle Rare in 1975. Now this one had a lot of tasting elements that they gave. So it said on the nose it's really complex notes of oak, the caramel. Let's get that out. Caramel, and then it had subtle notes of vanilla and pepper, and then on the palate that all carried over. And then in addition to that, it had a lot of rice spice, toasted oak, tobacco, and dried fruits. So at 101 proof, that just sounds phenomenal. I'm sure it is. It's 17 years.
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool one to get. That would be close to the top of mine if I could pick one, because Erica's family, my wife, her family really loves Eagle Rare. All of them do. So I think that'd be kind of a cool one to get and share at Christmas time, something like that. So hopefully we'll be able to snag one of those. So this brings us to Sazerac 18. So this lives up to that age statement, 18 years, 5 months. They did not list a proof on that. I don't know if that was a mistake, kind of strange, but
Right.
they didn't give us proof information on that. But the age is, of course, 18 years, 5 months. Nose, oak, leather, ripe plum, rye, and kind of some earthy undertones. So that sounds pretty darn good to me. Palate, rye spice, smoke, dark cherry, licorice. And the finish was tobacco and charred oak. So that sounds all pretty good to me. That's another one I've never seen in a store or on a shelf at all. I've only ever seen George T. Stagg and Thomas H. Handy.
All right, this brings us to Thomas H. Handy's, which is what we have on the bar top. And that's what we're going to sample here. But this is last year's offering, and it is so good.
Yeah. Hopefully this year's is just as good.
Yeah, just as good.
I'm sure it will be.
The 2024 offering, it's going to be 6 years. It's always 6 years bottle that they put out. It comes in at 127.2 proof, and the reason that they originally did that was Thomas H. Handy was a bartender in New Orleans, and he wanted the bartenders in the area to use the Sazerac or their rye as a higher proof offering for the Sazeracs that they made in town. So that's why they make it at a higher proof. It's bottled directly from the barrel, which is a process I've really never even heard of, honestly.
Right.
And then as far as the tasting elements, you get a lot of oak, a lot of cinnamon, pepper, and clove. Those are, like I said, it's 6 years, so it doesn't have quite the complexity of some of the other that we've talked about. But if you have it, it's really good.
Yeah. This is my bottle of Thomas H. Handy. It's the 2023 version. Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about MSRP. MSRP on every single one of the bottles is $149.99. Good luck finding it at that, unless you're in a controlled state where everything's at MSRP. But even then, you're probably not going to find it. But anyway, that's kind of it for the 2024. But let's just sip this.
Sorry, I just jumped in.
No, you're good. You're good. I've been sipping it the whole time we've been filming. So this Thomas H. Handy, the nose on it has really opened up from the first few times that I've tasted this. I've only tasted this maybe 2 or 3 times. It's almost like it's a deep, rich caramel that kind of almost trends towards maple syrup, but not quite there.
It doesn't give me a traditional rye nose. It's
It's
not earthy. It's just it's really nice. It's really pleasant.
Right. I would venture to say maybe there's a little bit of corn in there or something in the mash bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good oak note to it. Got some rye bread,
leather or something like that.
A little rye bread to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it. Let's go in for a sip though. Now that's where the rye, you really get the rise on the palate towards the front end of it too.
Yeah.
This one in particular is 124.9 proof. I actually don't think it drinks quite that high.
No,
maybe like a 115 or so.
It doesn't. The nose is definitely
nose.
You don't pick up proof at all.
Yeah, it doesn't even burn. It's kind of strange.
From the palate though, man, that second sip just was like I always say on rye, it's an explosion of taste.
Yeah, and you do feel it in the chest.
You feel the chest. Warm. It goes forward and it burns your tongue. It burns your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a pleasant burn. It's not like I'm on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's too proofed up. It's just a good offering.
Yeah.
To do that in 6 years is pretty amazing.
But
that's why this has been pretty well renowned.
Yeah, I think they picked some of the, their best ryes obviously out there at Buffalo Trace for that. So I would recommend. It's kind of weird to buy that bottle if you find it. So actually though, that does bring me to I think what our final point is going to be, and that is we just talked about each bottle, and we did mention MSRP being at $150. You and I, we normally don't spend in that range, but with BTAC, there can be a conversation about if you are going to splurge, that's probably one to do it on.
Which I'm in a few lotteries to buy.
Okay.
Things of those nature. So if I were to win any of these, I would buy it.
Okay. At $150.
At $150.
Okay.
So please, if you guys get a bottle of any of these at retail or close to retail, drink it. Drink it.
That's right.
Keep it.
Yeah,
Keep it. Share it with your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Don't flip it.
Right. Yeah, don't be a flipper.
Let's stop that tradition and go back to drinking our bourbon and enjoying it.
Yeah, you mother flippers.
Yeah.
Maybe I just invented a new term. I actually brought this home when I got it and opened it pretty much right then and there, I think, and did it. So let's talk though, Brian. What is the highest you would pay for any of these? And I know there's 3 of the 5 that I would want more than the others. Obviously, I have this Thomas H. handy, so I probably would pass up on it unless you wanted it, and I could get it for you. But for me, George T. Stagg, William Larue Weller, or the Eagle Rare.
Right. Those would probably be the 3 that I would
really go
after. I would not. Probably the reason I'm not made. Most likely I won't get one.
Right.
I probably wouldn't go over $250.
Yeah.
If I saw it for $200, yes, I would. I'd buy it at that too.
Yeah. Obviously, the likelihood
is pretty slim.
Is pretty much next to nothing, but you never know. And we do have some liquor store owners who treat us pretty well, so never know. All right. Well, do you have any BTAC stuff? I want to know that. And share in the comments below if you're still watching. Thank you. Put in the comments below how you obtained that bottle, because I think that's pretty cool. I actually this was Keith's bottle, and Keith likes guitars, and I had a guitar that he wanted really bad. And I was like, well, let's swap some bourbon. And he insisted, I wasn't going to take this from him. He insisted that I take this in the trade. So, and then Bill told us, both of us felt like we were screwing the other, and Bill said, that's how you know you got a good deal, when each party feels like they're screwed. So, all right, well, we're going to end this episode the same way that we always do, but do let us know what you think of these bourbon news videos. Is something that you want to see. But we're going to end this one the same way that we always do, and that is, when you're with your family and your friends, always share your whiskey.